Good morning, good morning. Welcome to another day of our parenting challenge. We are now on day 23. We're on day 23 today, and we're actually moving into part 4 of this challenge, where we're looking at specific behaviors that parents have challenges with. So I'm going to talk about getting schoolwork done today, and I'm definitely happy to hear feedback about different challenges that you might have. We're going to be looking at the schoolwork today. We're going to be looking at anxiety, sibling rivalry, self-worth. Those are a couple of the examples that we'll be doing. But if there's something specific you want to make sure that I address, feel free to message me, email me, whatever is helpful, just to make sure that I address those things. So with schoolwork, I mean, COVID's definitely been tough for a lot of families, especially balancing work and their kids' schoolwork. Some kids have been doing great, right? Because there hasn't been the demands of getting up early, rushing through their morning, getting their backpack packed, other kids being jerks to them on the playground, having to sit all day, right? Some kids are actually thriving right now. But I know a lot of families are struggling with this balance of their own work and their kids' work. So I know making sure our kids are learning and doing their work is really important. And learning is 100% important. I mean, one of my goals as a parent is to make sure that my kids love learning. You know, that lifelong learning is very important. But I think COVID, like I've said, is a great reset button. It's given us a lot of opportunities to do things a little bit differently. We've talked about building our relationship and all of those types of things, but now it's also an opportunity to instill that love for learning for our kids, right? I don't know about you, and if you're a teacher, definitely correct me, but I think, this last month of school is usually field trips and field days and playing outside, classroom tidy up, just wrapping up the school year. I don't know how much curriculum is getting done. So why not use this opportunity to instill love for learning, right? Getting our kids fascinated and researching and learning about whatever topics, even if it's the history of puke or where that word came from, it doesn't matter. It's just the process of learning. And in doing so, we need to boost our kids' confidence as a learner as well. So we can use this time to instill that love, boost their confidence, but also teaching them the lifelong skills of learning how to learn, right? And that's kind of where I'm going to focus a little bit today. So for me, it's not so much the curriculum, it's teaching them the strategies they need to learn effectively, especially when they go back to school. And for those kids who actually did start school, hopefully the transition was smooth. I know a lot of kids did go back yesterday, actually. So that's pretty exciting. My kids are not yet, but there are definitely some there. But, we want to teach them these strategies because oftentimes there's just, in a busy classroom, teachers don't necessarily have the time where they can teach these strategies to teach kids how to learn. So learning how, some kids have trouble getting started on things or finishing their work. Kids fall into this dependency trap where they will never finish their work on their own. They feel like they always need someone there watching over them or kind of helping them get started. And there's so many different reasons why a child might have difficulties doing their schoolwork. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe they don't know how to start because someone was always there to help them. Maybe they don't see the relevance in it. That's a big one for a lot of our kids. Sometimes our kids have underlying attention or even learning challenges. Any and all of these reasons, it's important to be aware of because they all have different solutions, right? So it's important to, again, just like with any behavior, we need to play detective and figure out what is going on with our kids. What is making this learning hard for them, right? And if you do worry about attention or learning, you got to get on that. Go and talk with teachers or professionals to see exactly what your child's learning needs are and if there is something underlying, because then that's a whole bigger issue. We can find lots of strategies out there. We know things like making sure the hard stuff's done first, mixing up the hard with easy things, lots of body breaks, creating routines, reward systems. There's lots of different strategies like that. And I know I can't, those are just basic things, and I know I won't be able to get through everything today in our short period of time, but I do want to just share a few key ideas. The first thing you might want to try is creating an ideal work environment. We've already talked about creating the success-oriented environments for our kids. So we want to make sure even little things like good light, there's no distractions, right? Other people aren't doing more, funner things. Oftentimes kids have the fear of missing out, right? So we want to make sure that those things are there. Work with your kids, try different locations. Sometimes try, little music, maybe having a little snack nearby. Try lots of different things and see what's engaging for them. I also love the idea of workstations. And in today's pages, I have examples of workstations for you. And this is good for kids right up to adults. I give this even to my adult clients that I work with. Essentially, what you can do is if you have 4 baskets, something concrete that kids can see. I love the idea of baskets because it really separates things, but you could use different colored paper or just make it very clear that there's 4 different areas. But from on the left-hand side of the child's desk, so I guess it would be here, top to bottom, there's 4 baskets or whatever it is that you're going to do. And in each basket, to start with the workstation, you want to make sure that we're starting with really easy tasks, not overly easy that the kids are like, oh my gosh, this is so boring, but we still want them to be engaged and we want them to feel like, oh, this is easy, I can do it, right? We don't want to start with brand new things or things that are hard for them, especially when we're setting this station up, because we want them to be successful on their own independently. And so from top to bottom, they have 3 different activities. So maybe it's a reading comprehension worksheet, a math worksheet, and a coloring worksheet, whatever it is that's going to keep them engaged, that they're going to enjoy. So even the reading comprehension, maybe it's a graphic novel, right? Or something like that. And then the 4th basket is a transitionary object. So it could be whether you write it out or draw a picture, or it's just an apple, an actual object to indicate where I go next once I'm done my 3 things. Right? And so what I'll do is I'll take the top basket, I'll put it in front of me in my desk, I'll finish it, and then to the right, I have a finished basket. So I know when it's done, it goes finished. Then I know the next basket, I do it and finish all the way down. When I get to the 4th object, that's going to tell me if it's an apple, okay, it's snack time. If it's a Frisbee, okay, it's outside time. I'm going to go play recess. I know a lot of kids might not have worksheets, and so you could use sticky notes, right? 4 sticky notes. These are the things that you're going to do on the computer because a lot of the learning is there on the computer. These workstations are really helpful because they help kids feel successful, and that's what often gets in the way of their learning. And it's not only making them feel successful, they are actually experiencing firsthand that I can get my work done all by myself. I don't need mom or dad there. Right? And this is true even for teens. They're like, oh, especially writing assignments, I don't know where to start, and they just need a little nudge. But now they can sit down and start doing things on their own. Choices are helpful too. We all know that choices are really good. I love schoolwork choice boards, right? Which you can set it up almost like a bingo card where they get to pick and choose. And maybe if you have a card, they have to pick 4 things that they're going to do in the day, and then they can help you set up the baskets. It's probably a lot of work to always do a bingo card every day, so again, you can use sticky notes. And I love color coding, right? Pink could be all the reading activities, green could be all the writing activities, blue could be math, however you want to do it, and then they just have to pick so many from each color, making sure that they're doing a little bit of everything. And again, then they can go put those on their workstation and get those things done, right? So those are the types of things that we can help our kids do within creating choices, but then also getting their work done independently. When they sit down to work, the most critical piece is we need to get our kids thinking about how they learn. It's not just a matter of sit down and finish the worksheet or memorize a bunch of information, because that's not actually learning. It's just regurgitating information. So instead of telling our kids what to do, we need to start asking them. And this is those metacognitive sort of thinking about our learning. You can ask things like, what is it that you're going to do for this task? Where do you think you're going to start? Where do you start on this? What do you think you're learning? Oftentimes kids can't even say, oh, I don't know, I was just given this. I don't know what I'm learning, right? What is your plan to get started? Where are you going to start? What are you going to do next? How will you know when you're done? What strategies are you going to use? What happens if you get stuck? What are you going to do? Asking our kids these rather than just waiting for things to happen and then jumping in and helping, because then they're never going to learn. If they're not sure how they're going to answer these questions, especially at the beginning, maybe you're asking them at the end. Get them started on their sheets or their worksheets or workstations, whatever they're doing, and then at the end, ask these questions. Where did you start? What strategies did you use to help you get it done? How did you know that you were done, right? Walk me through the process of how you got it done, because then they can start thinking about their process and then they can apply that for next time, and especially what works and what doesn't work. It's really good too to be asking if they're getting frustrated, saying, hey, bud, I can see that you're getting frustrated, right? What are you going to do to get yourself unstuck? And I'm here to help, right? So rather than telling them, it's asking them how they're going to help themselves. These questions really help them to engage in their learning to learn. With us telling them all the time, it's like, I don't know if you've ever had the experience, if you've been a passenger in the car and you drive somewhere, maybe it's, out in the highway in the country somewhere, and then it's your turn to drive the next time. But you're like, I have no idea how to get there, right? Because I wasn't actually driving the first time. I've been there, but I don't remember how to get there. It's kind of the same thing. They go into autopilot. I don't remember how I got there because there was always someone else helping me along to begin with. And so I was so focused on the work and not all of these strategies. Now, there might be times where we do have to teach them a strategy, but unfortunately, we're not great explainers. We just say, do this and do that, right? And then magically things happen. And it's magical to them because they never really understood why we, for example, break tasks down, or why, for example, we might use a graphic organizer, right? So it's being very transparent. This is why we do the things that we do. My youngest daughter was learning multiplication recently, and I heard the teacher, do this and do that and then do that. But there wasn't transparency or explanation as to why. It was just a demonstration of this is how you multiply. But our kids really need to know those whys, whether it's rules we establish or how to solve a math equation, for example. So after that, I asked my daughter about multiplication, and she didn't really understand the concept. She, like many kids, learned, we teach them to memorize your timetables. So she memorized the sentence, 3 times 4 equals 12. But she didn't actually know what that means. She didn't have that conceptual understanding. Oh, the 3 groups it's adding essentially, right? She didn't really get that. So the other thing is that we need to remember is kids can become easily overwhelmed when we work too long, right? The brain stops learning. So therefore, we know regular breaks are really important. That's why I like the 4th basket, because they can actually see, there's an end. I am going to get a break. And, I can see something motivating, right? Something that I can look forward to. That's going to help them finish their work. If they are learning something new, kids can't take in more than 10 minutes worth of information, which is why I like to keep these videos as short as I do, so that you can take in the information. So we need to remember that if they're sitting down for something new, after 10 minutes, they need time to process through that information. So maybe they're teaching you, they're summarizing what they've learned and teaching you. Maybe they're making a story about the information. Maybe they're making a song, right? There's a great scene from the show Atypical, if you've ever seen it, where the best friend is studying for nursing school, and he's made all of these associations and stories with the different terms, right? For nursing. A little bit maybe inappropriate for some of our kids, but making those associations and talking is really going to help entrench that learning, which is going to be really important. Whatever, you're only limited by your own creativity. They could be drawing, they could be moving. There's a geography teacher actually in the States who works, with those inner teen kids, great Hallmark movie, where everybody was failing, dropping out of school, but he physically was teaching them through movement, geography, and they all ended up with an A. So these are the types of things that our kids need to try processing the information and doing things with the information in lots of different ways. We also want to build curiosity and engagement, right? It's curiosity that actually makes us smarter because we have a deeper, more meaningful practice with the information. And that's why I thought, let's use this time to instill that learning, to get them curious about the world. I remember talking one day, I was freaking out. My husband was going pretty fast and I could see red lights and stoplights in front of me. And I was, one of those kind of panicking. And I had mentioned, well, women have different depth perception. And so that's why the mums in the car might be, and the dads are like, what are you freaking out about? It's fine. Just let me drive, right? And so my daughter thought that was fascinating. So she went to go learn the differences between male and female vision. And just so you know, men do actually have more tunnel vision than women. I learned that from her because she was curious, she was engaged. So that's why if we can get our kids learning about things that they want to learn about, it can be really interesting. And the brain needs that repetition, repetition, repetition. If our kids are curious, they're going to eat it up. They're going to read everything that they know. I've got kids who know everything about technology or video games or cars or boats or whatever it is. We just want to get them engaged. My younger daughter is really interested in brain development in the computer because I talk a lot about screen time and brain development. So she's done her own PowerPoint presentation. She's grade 3, learning all about the brain and screens and the effect that screens have on them. So giving examples of things that they've practiced can be really helpful. When we're talking about repetition and they don't want to do any more math and they don't want to do any more writing, for example, talk about, hey, remember the first time you went skating? You weren't born a skater. You probably laid on the ground for the first 3 sessions just doing snow angels, right? But through practice, we're growing our brain. So we can teach our kids about their brain. We can make our brains stronger. We can make it a stronger math brain. We can ask them about their time robbers. Again, it's getting them thinking about what is it that's making it hard for me to learn and to get my work done. So my time robbers are, oh my gosh, my Lego bin was right next to my table, right? Or the dog was there, or who knows what else kids get distracted by. But then they can start identifying what their time robbers are. I bet you've got some too, right? Facebook is a great example. Emails are a great example. So instead of getting mad at them, sorry, I lost connection there. Hopefully this is still going. So instead of getting mad, we can talk about what are your time robbers. So they're identifying those time robbers, and then we can make a plan. Okay, so yesterday, these were your time robbers. What's your plan for today so that it's not a problem anymore, right? There's lots of time management things I like to do with our kids because especially if they're younger or teenagers, they all have these executive functioning deficits, which make time management really difficult. And they have no idea how long it's going to take them. So that's why if they're playing video games and you're like, hey bud, it's been an hour, get off. And like, oh my gosh, it was only 2 minutes. That wasn't an hour. Versus if they have to do a math worksheet and it's only like literally 3 minutes long and they think it's the longest thing ever. It's going to take weeks to do. So there's this disconnect with actually how much time is passing. So we can have kids predict, how long do you think it's going to take to finish this task? I predict it's going to take 12 hours. Okay, let's write it down and see, right? So they can start seeing how long it's actually taking. And then when we're looking at focus, can they beat their time last time? So you were able to focus and sit for 10 minutes. Let's see if you can focus and sit for 11 minutes, right? Sometimes having a job, just changing their job title. If you say homework or schoolwork, just the word work is awful, right? But maybe it's okay, it's time to be a mathematician, right? We're creating this different energy around it. It's time to be an author. Those types of things can be a lot more motivating. Again, it's just our own creativity. I've got lots more ideas. I do have an article that I kept the link there for just building your focus. But for today, I really want you just to experiment with your kids, right? See what systems work for them, what the best learning environment is, and what they're interested in learning. See if you can find a passion project for them to be able to work on, just so we can start building that confidence and love for learning. So go have a wonderful day. Make sure you let me know if there are specific things that you're having challenges with. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be looking at sibling rivalry and anxiety. I will go into screen time as well, actually. So there's a few more things in these last few days. But if there's anything else you want me to address, make sure you let me know. Go have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.